Hello all, and welcome to the Caregiver Support Series. I hope everyone is well and found some creative ways to tailor your coping plans from last week. Have you used our group mantra? Just in case you haven't, let's say it together. My best is enough. This is your host, Sarah, and today I will be talking about advanced care planning. Grab your favorite hot beverage and sit back. As always, feel free to reach out with topic suggestions, questions, or comments. I certainly enjoyed the conversations that came out of last week's episode. Today, as we continue
social distancing,
I have a tough question for you. Would there be a scenario from an unexpected injury or illness where you may find yourself saying, "Don't use any more medical treatments to keep me alive in that state"? If you had a serious, permanent brain injury, would you want treatments to keep your body alive for months or years? Would you want CPR? A ventilator to breathe for you? And if you stayed stable enough on the ventilator, but not stable enough to come off, would you be okay with the trach? What about tube feedings? Would dialysis be acceptable if your kidneys were to fail? These are all important questions to consider. And if considering them makes you feel like this, I assure you, you're not alone, and that a facilitator can help you understand, reflect on, and discuss the answers. The facilitators at Sincera Palliative Care and Hospice of Northwest Ohio are certified by Respecting Choices and are part of a regional initiative that has been in the works for years. My words to describe segment today will be focusing on defining advanced care planning while recognizing the importance of having a conversation about possible future medical care. The Education Corner will discuss code status in Ohio and Michigan. I have some resources for you to check out at the end of the episode. And next week's topic is using opioids for the treatment of shortness of breath. As always, my sources will be cited in red. A lot of people already know what advanced directives are, so I'm going to define advanced care planning, which is the buzz phrase of the week. Advanced care planning is an important conversation, an ongoing process that allows people the chance to understand, reflect on, and discuss possible future medical decisions. We make decisions about everything else in our lives: who we marry, where we live, what we do with our precious time. Why wouldn't we want our wishes to be followed, even if we weren't able to communicate those after an illness or injury? A certified facilitator can guide you through this conversation while identifying your goals, values, and beliefs. Advanced care planning also includes your spiritual, religious, and cultural beliefs. As a refresher, advanced directives refers to the legal documents where a plan is detailed in writing. However, when I say legal document, that does not mean I'm saying you need a lawyer. The law does not require a lawyer to complete these documents. You need either 2 witnesses or 1 notary. This box is a list of people who cannot be a witness: a relative by blood, marriage, or adoption, your agent or healthcare power of attorney, a guardian, an alternative agent or guardian, your attending physician, or if you reside in a nursing home, the administrator of that nursing home. People who can sign would be a friend, a neighbor, or a coworker. They're basically confirming that you are of sound mind at the time that that document is drawn up. An advance directive is only applied when a person becomes unable to make decisions due to an injury or illness. The ideal situation is that you've already had this conversation with your healthcare power of attorney or agent. Those terms are interchangeable. So they should be advocating for you or speaking on your behalf, not necessarily making decisions for you. I've been sitting with a patient talking about treatment options, and a family member comes into the room saying they are the healthcare power of attorney, so they should be making the treatment decisions. I have to gently remind them that their healthcare power of attorney does not become active unless the patient is comatose or deemed unable to make decisions for themselves by a physician. An example would be in the case of a patient with dementia. Advance directives, remember, that refers to the actual documents, in Ohio include naming a healthcare power of attorney or agent. This person should be willing to accept the role, willing to talk about your goals, values, and preferences, willing to follow your decisions even if they do not agree with them, and they may not, and be able to advocate for you in difficult moments. You would be surprised how many people I've come across in my career in a crisis situation who did not know they were named as an agent. A living will is a set of your instructions about treatment you would or would not want if your life was threatened by an acute injury or a chronic illness. There are also organ donation options. I recognize that this can be a difficult conversation, but talking about your wishes for future medical care can turn out to be a strange but priceless gift. When somebody is forced to make decisions they are not prepared to make, it can leave lasting consequences, no matter what the outcome. It's a decision that requires logic and reason in a situation that is emotional and overwhelming. This is why the planning process works. Look at the overall picture of how these words came together. It's not as scary as it seems. It can actually be a very meaningful, eye-opening experience. CPR refers to cardiopulmonary resuscitation efforts should someone's heartbeat and/or breathing stop. I'm not sure everyone is always fully aware of what all is involved or could possibly be involved should CPR need to be started. Chest compressions, which is pushing the chest 2 inches deep, 100 to 120 times a minute. An electric shock to the heart, if indicated. Administration of resuscitative medications that are very powerful. The insertion of an artificial airway called intubation, or inserting a tube to be attached to the ventilator machine. And CPR could result in the chronic need for dialysis. If someone does survive being resuscitated, and I urge you to look up the statistics because they are eye-opening, but they would likely need a lot of recuperation time, and they may never really return to their quote-unquote normal status. They could be bedbound or dependent on others for care, or even be in a vegetative state. Code status is a doctor's order, and it is not valid without a physician's signature. In Ohio, there are 3 options. Number 1, you are a full code, which is what you are by default and means there will be every effort to save your life possible. Number 2 is a DNR-CCA, which stands for arrest, and that means up until your heart and/or breathing stops or arrests, you will receive all medical care necessary to treat any illness or injury, including intubation. A DNR-CCA does not become effective until you experience cardiac or respiratory arrest, which means it doesn't become effective unless your heart or breathing stops. The third option is a DNR-CC, which is comfort care, and that means you will receive medical care necessary to treat illnesses or injuries, but there will be no intubation, no CPR, no electric shock. It means you will be given medications to keep you comfortable, but there will be no invasive measures to prolong your life and no measures to hasten your death either. A DNR-CC becomes active as soon as it is signed by your physician. In Michigan, it's more black and white. You are either a full code or a DNR-CC. I think my first tip might be a little too obvious. If you are over the age of 18, get your advanced care planning started. In the end, planning helps you, your family, and the providers who want your wishes fulfilled. Educate yourself and your loved ones by checking out additional resources and considering what you would write in your living will. Ask questions of your physician or get in touch with an advanced care planning facilitator in your area. Talk about your plans with people you trust. Talk about them with your healthcare providers, and talk about advanced care planning to people you care about. Help me spread the word. Update your advance directives with the 3 Ds. If there is a divorce, especially if your agent named is your ex and that arrangement just wouldn't work anymore. If there's a death that affects your plans or changes your goals, etc. And if neither of those things happen, it's a good idea to look over your advance directives once every decade. This type of planning is especially important for younger people. If you would like to download the Ohio Advance Directive forms, check out Leading Age Ohio. If you would like to talk to one of our Advanced Care Planning Facilitators, email acp@sinceracare.org or call either of the two numbers below. Thanks for watching. This has been an episode of the Caregiver Support Series brought to you by Hospice of Northwest Ohio. Next week, I will be discussing opioids for the use of symptom management of shortness of breath.